goes. Speak to you in a bit. Speak to you in a bit.
Good morning. Thank you for holding with us. We're just waiting for a few more people to attend, so we were just waiting for them to join, and we're going to get started now. So, welcome to the Redstor Cloud Showcase. So, I'm Bruce Laing. I'm head of technical services and operations here at Risc IT Solutions, and I'm joined today by Adam Cronin, who's head of UK pre-sales with Redstor. We're going to be taking you through how to back up your data and the reasons for backing up your data within Office 365 and various other cloud platforms. So just a bit of housekeeping before we get started. Okay, so this is a Teams live event. We're delivering it through Teams. If you've got any questions, there's a Q&A panel. It should appear in the right-hand side. Please, you're all on mute, so we won't be able to hear you. If you have any questions, post them there, and we'll answer them at the end of the session. Excuse me. As you're all aware, you will get a copy of the recording later to review. So if we make any fluff-ups, please post them to YouTube. That'll be very fun. But yeah, if you have any important questions, just post them in the Q&A, and we will get to them. If there are any that we can't answer in the Q&A session, because they're usually very popular, we'll get to them afterwards, and we'll post them to that bit link in our website to show so you can. Okay, if you have any quality issues, you can't see our wonderful faces, please drop the quality down. It will help with bandwidth income for you, so you'll be able to see the screen slides. We haven't got too many PowerPoint slides, thankfully. It's going to be a heavy demo session with Mr. Cronin, Mr. Adam. So we'll take you through that in a second, but we first of all need to set the scene, because we do have a lot of people joining us today who aren't using Redstor, aren't customers. They haven't spoken to us at all. So we're just going to take you through who Risc are and who Redstor are in a brief overview of the slides here. So who Risc? So Risc have been doing cloud services for the last 20 years. I've been personally working for the company for the last 15. And we delivered originally cloud-to-cloud backup, and that's in the days of dial-up internet connectivity, AOL modems, and all that sort of nice stuff. So we've been delivering it all the way from then, backing up servers, desktops, laptops, etc. And as data has been moving to the cloud, we've obviously been assisting with that as well. But we don't just do backup. We also provide Microsoft services. We're one of the largest Microsoft cloud service providers in the UK. Excuse me. 2,500 customers across the UK. We also sell connectivity, so we do unified communications. Redstor, obviously, we're talking about today. We do Cyber Essentials, IASME, networking services through some of these partners that you can see on screen. We're a gold partner with ESET Endpoint Protection, so we can provide endpoint protection using those services. And then we also provide co-location and hosting through various different providers, Teledata being one of them, as well as Microsoft Azure, IMART, etc. So we have a wide breadth of knowledge and skills in-house for any IT solutions. But today we're talking about backup. So traditionally, and certainly pre-COVID, a lot of customers' data was on-prem. So it was nicely contained in your servers, in your applications, on your machines, in your offices, in your head offices, data centers you might be running, etc. But over the last few years, we've certainly seen it. Excuse me, certainly with Office 365, AD identities have been pushed up to Office 365, bringing on things like Exchange and Outlook and SharePoint, OneDrive, etc. And as the data has moved from on-prem, it's become much more complex to back that up. But we have solutions that allow us to do this. Why do I need to back up my data now it's in these cloud environments? Well, that's a good question, and Adam will be filling in on this in much more detail, I'm sure. Excuse me. Malware, it's still prevalent. It's still out there. It's still one of the most common reasons we get phone calls for phishing links, have been clicked on. Data has become corrupt on the local machine, and then it's pushed it up to one of these cloud services, and customers then need to look to how to best remove that data, remove that malware, remove and excuse me, restore their data back into their cloud platform of choice. And that traditionally with Microsoft hasn't been an easy thing to do. Microsoft have some amazing tools which are very expensive and really complex to set up. But the Redstor application we're going to be looking at today makes that life as an IT admin much easier. But again, I'm stealing Adam's thunder, so I'll move on. Excuse me. One of the other things that comes up is user error. So one particular example I know of is a salesperson that we were working with. They accidentally disconnected their OneDrive. They thought it was disconnected. They then deleted all the contents of their OneDrive, and in the background they restarted their machine. OneDrive restarted, and it removed all the data within the SharePoint document library they were actually using. So that is quite a common scenario, unfortunately, or people just moving stuff to the wrong location. They don't realize that when it's synced to their local machine, they drag it out their folder onto the local machine. It's been moved. It's literally been moved onto their local machine, and that happens a lot as well. Accidental deletion. Well, I don't know if anyone's seen this one, that lovely bit of link. There was an issue a couple of weeks ago. KPMG, large insurance financial house, they applied incorrectly a Microsoft retention policy, which wiped out their data for Teams, wiped out their chat history for Teams. Excuse me. And unfortunately, it was gone. There's nothing Microsoft could do about it. It's actually deleted. So even admins who know what they're doing most of the time can accidentally remove data, and you need to be protected against that by misconfiguration. Malicious users, yeah, unfortunately we do get that as well. So people leaving the business, taking their data with them, or wanting to stop their previous employers from being able to message continue working, they delete data. It happens, unfortunately. Malicious actors, so this is coming into the fissures, the breaches that we commonly get, where people are trying to constantly take over your Office 365 tenancy. You're constantly being attacked. Just like in your on-prem, you would have people trying to attack your network, come in via open ports, VPNs. It's happening within cloud SaaS applications as well. Okay. Oh, this is the KPMG. Yeah, 145,000 users' personal chats were deleted by a misconfiguration by an admin. Not a good day for them. So, as I was mentioning, bad actors. Who is accessing my SaaS application? So, as the data is no longer on-prem, it's been pushed up to Office 365, G Suite, Salesforce, Xero, Oracle, various other different cloud-based applications. Who is actually accessing that data? When it was on-prem, I knew somebody coming through my door would be able to access that computer, so I could restrict who came in my door. But now it's cloud-hosted. Where is it being, accessed from? So this is actually our Risc's Office 365 admin logins. No, sorry, not admin logins, but Office 365 user logins. So here we can see the various different countries it's being successfully accessed from. If I swap to where it's being attacked from, these are the various different countries that have failed to log into ours. Office 365. And this is just Office 365. This is just one SaaS application. If you've got cloud-based accountancy packages, CRMs and HR systems, they're all under the same attack vector. And that's something that we can obviously help with not just protection from a Microsoft point of view, but also from the restoration if something does get breached. Quite a worrying slide, really. Okay, but enough of me and enough of PowerPoint. I'm going to hand over to Mr. Cronin now. So, Adam, if you would like to share your slides, I'm sure.
Thanks very much, Bruce. You should be hearing me hopefully now.
I can hear you loud and clear.
Just going to go and make sure I'm sharing my screen. I'm hoping I'm sharing the whole screen and not just my PowerPoint. Thanks. Yep. Thanks ever so much for handing over to me, Bruce. So what's been asked of me is to take you through a high-level overview about Redstor, and we're also going to just look into a few things about why you want to back up and protect your Microsoft 365 and other things, and then I'm going to drop into a technical demonstration and hopefully prove and just show you how simple a few restores and a few different techniques are. So I've got a small amount of PowerPoint, and then we're going to drop straight into the software. So look, very high level overview of Redstor. I think it's probably, important to point out that myself and Bruce, we've been working together right from the start. Redstor have been providing cloud backup and recovery services for 20 plus years. We've got about 40,000 global customers and partners using our service. Obviously, Risc has been with us right from the start. And it's also good to know that our headquarters are in the UK. So in terms of being able to support Risc, you know, we're in the UK. We're only a call or a hop across the bridge over to Reading. But we are an international company. We do have platforms in other territories around the globe. So, you know, I don't know each and every one of you and the size of your organizations, but if you needed the data to sit in a different territory other than the UK, that's what I typically focus on, then let me know, or let Risc know. So Bruce has already covered a few of these. This is my market drivers slide. It's really there just to sort of provoke conversations about how people are using different services. You know, the key ones I sort of tend to pick out, if I can find my mouse, is exponential data growth. Data is not ever shrinking in size. Certainly since the COVID pandemic, then everybody's been moving to the cloud, and that echoes also in, you know, our stats, what we obtain from our platforms. Also, not being able to access the data. You know, and obviously, you know, business downtime and all of that sort of stuff. So there's lots of reasons why, you know, you must protect data, and these little market drivers are just good talking points, really, just to talk internally about, you know, how you are protecting data and where you might be vulnerable. So we're going to mainly talk about Microsoft 365, but again, what I said there is since the sort of COVID, data is inaccessible, where people might be running around at home now with laptops, data sits at home as well. Obviously, you've got the adoption of cloud services, lots of things like Google G Suite and an Office 365, and there's a few others that we're busy developing that we'll cover off a bit later on. And then, of course, your localized data. This is your data in the data center. So in terms of Microsoft 365, quite common is questions about why I should be protecting that data elsewhere. And the short answer is that Microsoft's terms and conditions, if you go through them with a fine-tooth comb, you'll pretty much realize very sharpish that their service, that's what they're providing. They're providing the ability to send and receive email, the ability to store the data in the OneDrive and SharePoint and Teams, and have a service level of agreement of how that service will be maintained, and hopefully no outages. But in terms of the actual data, the content, the unique information that your organizations are generating, that's down to you to protect. Which is the important thing. So in terms of the recycle bin, yes, there's a recycle bin. If you go and delete an email within your Outlook, it's going to sit in the recycle bin by default, I think 90 days. And then once it's actually been deleted from the user's mailbox, Microsoft actually will keep it, in some cases, depending on your license with your Office 365, up to maybe 90 days. But this isn't an interface that you can manage and you can drag and drop things back. This is you raising a support ticket with Microsoft, making sure you're speaking to the right department, and then you're trying to recover data. And the other thing here is the average for someone realizing that they need to actually recover things is over 140 days. So, you know, you've got a very small recycle bin with Office 365, but what happens if you haven't realized that somebody's maliciously deleted something, or something's been deleted, the wrong data, or like Bruce mentioned, you know, something malicious has happened. So I guess really that's where some of the Redstor and Risc services come into play. So quick high-level overview. So Bruce did mention to me that some of you are existing Risc customers, maybe already using Redstor, but I'd like to just give a very high-level overview of our service. So over here on the left-hand side is a typical customer of Risc. They'll have some servers, whether they're physical, whether they're virtualized in Hyper-V, VMware, possibly something else. So servers, Windows, Linux, even Macs we back up. And then obviously we've got our cloud services, so G Suite and Microsoft 365. We can also cater nicely for endpoints like laptops. So whether you're a user at home, we can back that up nicely as well. Then we've got various application integration. We can back up network shares. So if you're maybe adopting a NAS to dump data on, we can get access to that and back that up. Then a typical Exchange environment, which you know, I don't talk about Exchange too much nowadays because everybody's moved to 365. I still also talk to lots of people about SQL. The SQL tends to be, you know, out there in the field. And then the last piece really is unstructured data. So this is typically your file server where traditionally you would ask all of your users to drop data on. And what's normally quite common is there isn't a delete policy. So these things just grow exponentially. So that brings us to the core parts of the Redstor solution. And I'm just going to pause for a minute because my mouse keeps on disappearing, which is not helping. Right, there we go. So the core parts to the Redstor solution. So as I mentioned, we've been providing cloud backup and recovery services for over 20 years. So that's the core part of our solution. You back up data, our application or our agent streams that data into our Redstor vaults, our data center, and then obviously you can recover that data whenever you require from a different point in time if you desire. So we've had to raise our game. So over the last sort of 5 years, we've developed what we call our full system backup and recovery, which is our disaster recovery piece. I guess the unique part of our full system disaster recovery is the system doesn't need to be virtualized in the first place. So we can cater for physical machines. And you can also restore maybe or backup systems in Azure. We don't need access to the hypervisor for this element of our disaster recovery to function. So that gives us the ability to do full disaster recovery on physical machines, systems in Hyper-V or VMware, or systems maybe sitting as infrastructure as a service with Azure or AWS or Rackspace. So the next part of our component is our archiving. So again, going back to that unstructured file server where we obviously back up that data, send that into the Redstor cloud. Nobody really creates a delete policy, so data just grows exponentially. So with our archiving, you have the ability to create an archive policy to say, all right, well, I've protected all of this this data, but that's costing me money over here to host that storage and maintain that equipment. So why don't I say anything that's not been accessed for 12 months, I know that that's protected with Redstor. Why don't I remove those files and replace them with a tiny little shortcut? And of course, if a user then accesses that shortcut, it rehydrates the file from the cloud. So the user or applications are none the wiser. So that's how our archiving works. It's a great way for reducing your infrastructure costs on premise or maybe even in Azure. And then another thing that I'm going to show you and demonstrate in a second is what we call instant data. So the easiest way to describe this is when you use a cloud backup service or pretty much any backup service, you'll be familiar that you've done the initial backup and then all backups are a subsequent incremental and maybe taking 10 or 5 minutes or whatever they take. But in the event of a disaster, you're now tasked with getting all of that data 100% back. And you know, you have short memories. You forget that to get the data up into the cloud maybe took several hours. So with this instant data, the clue is in the name. It instantly creates a mapping into Redstor's data center from any of your devices, maybe even a laptop you've just got out of a drawer. And then all your users, you could maybe create a share or whatever you'd need to do to get the organization back up and running. But we've got a couple of flavors of how that instant data works. But it's very impressive and really quick to present large data sets to any of your servers. And then the last bit I will take you through a bit later on is our web management console, just so you can see the look and feel and how it looks in an environment. And of course, the final bit is where do you want to recover to? Are you recovering back on premise? Are you recovering to a partner's cloud who's helping you get your organization up and running? Maybe you're looking to migrate your systems to Azure. These are all capabilities within the Redstor suite. So quite a busy slide there. Again, with today's session, we're going to concentrate mainly on Office 365, but I guess just have a mental note that we also sort of back up laptops and servers wherever they sit across the internet. So just a couple of principles of our software. It's always got to be simple to install and deploy. There's no point, developing things that, you have to go and get a user manual out each time you need to either change your selection or even restore data. In terms of security is paramount. We are a cloud service, so that basically means, if you're taking data from wherever the source is, you're encrypting that data in 256 AES, and then it's streaming that over an SSL TLS encrypted tunnel. So no point is the data at rest and not encrypted. Only you can recover that data. Performance, I sort of touched on that earlier. Once we've done the initial backup, all subsequent backups are a digital incremental. You'll never have to resend the data once a week. It's incrementals forever. Built to scale, as you imagine, it scales up. It's software as a service. So as you start generating data, the service scales up. But also, if you then decide that there's some data that just really isn't useful to the business anymore, and you delete it and you remove it from the backup servers or from Microsoft 365, then potentially your bill goes down as well. And in terms of resilience and flexibility, I'm just going to use my last little slide here just to cover up a little network diagram. So if we start over on the right-hand side, the Risc service via Redstor resides on our UK data centers. So our primary location is in a Slough data center. Redstor have hundreds of storage nodes within that data center. That's all owned and managed by Redstor. We've got tens of petabytes worth of storage in our primary location. And of course, our secondary location is located in Reading, where our headquarters is. And again, we've got exactly the same infrastructure at both sites. So in the event that one of our storage nodes was having a bad day, or the entire data center, we've got exactly the same bandwidth and kit and the same retention over in our secondary data center. So we do actually, or could, fail over to the mirror copy. So we host all of this. So in terms of a new customer starting with Risc and Redstor, you would then have your management console. We've got a couple of these, a Windows and a web version. And then you can back up, obviously, your servers and deploy agents on laptops, back up Hyper-V or VMware and network shares, a whole manner of different applications and operating system support. But in this little demonstration, we're actually going to start with what we call the cloud to cloud. So there's nothing to install. You just basically open up a browser once Risc has created your container on their service, and then you'll log into our Redstor cloud portal, and then that's where I'm going to start with in a second. So if I can now drop to a browser, and that's good, it's loaded on the correct screen. So the URL actually is cloud.pro.redstor.com. And
I'm sorry, I think we're still seeing your PowerPoint presentation. I think it's
okay. I did have a feeling that I might have failed with my share.
Sorry.
Just bear with me. My apologies. Right. Thanks, Bruce. Are you now seeing my browser now?
Yep, looks good.
Brilliant. My apologies for that. You did see all of the PowerPoint. Yeah, I'm sure you would have stopped.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm sure you would have stopped me, and hope I haven't put anybody to sleep. Right, this is the live stuff now. So I'm going to log in. So I've gone to cloud.pro.redstor.com. That's taken us into the cloud to cloud portal, and then I'm going to log in with the user that Risc will create for you guys. Some of you, if you're already existing customers, you might also have console access in. So once you log in here, you'll see I've got an area for G Suite, and an area for Microsoft 365. I think really we're going to cover off mainly Microsoft 365, but the setup's really simple. So for example, if I go and click on Microsoft 365, and over at the top right hand corner, you'll see this add button. So assuming I haven't already configured these, you would just simply click on the add button, choose the service that you want to back up. So let's say Exchange, and then the cloud-to-cloud portal will say, well, okay, well, I now need to marry myself up with your Microsoft 365 tenant. So this is when I'd click next, and then I'd have to put in my Microsoft 365 subscription, and that's it. It's done for you then. In fact, I wish that there was a select all button. I have asked for it, because the actual setup of Microsoft 365, probably you could get it all done in maybe 4 minutes. And if we had a select all button, it would probably be set up in under a minute. So I'm going to backtrack out of that and come back to the top of the route. And you'll see here, I've already got a container for Office 365 Mail, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams. So let's start off with email. So if I click on my mail, and I just click edit here, you can see that I'm actually protecting my email and calendar and contacts within Office 365 or Microsoft 365. And I can also see at my last backup across all of my mailboxes, I'm protecting 102 gig. And the last backup took place yesterday on the 30th. And then we've obviously got a scheduler here that I'm doing a backup all the way Monday through to Friday. And obviously you can customize that and change your retention and backup schedule as you require. So let's paint the scenario. Let's just say a user's just contacted the help desk. They've deleted 1 or 2 mail items and they want you to help get them back. So we've obviously logged into the cloud-to-cloud portal. I'm going to click on the recover button, and obviously I'm under the mail area at the moment. And you'll see here I can drill into different departments and see different users here. Now what I actually want to do is I want to search for my user Adam. So I've actually done a search, and my user here for some reason isn't part of a department. And I can either choose to restore everything within Adam's mailbox, which is 6.4 gig, and you can obviously wait for this to draw and pull down all of the different dates and times. So that might just take a second to build me a list of all of the available dates and times.
Whilst we're waiting, just to mention the departments, it's great. So if you only want to protect certain entities within Office 365, they will show in your departments as long as you've got them categorized within Azure AD. So if your finance or your sales team are important to you, your directors probably, you can quite quickly drill through thousands of records just by department and just say, I only want to back up that particular department. So that's a really good way to drill that down.
Brilliant. Thanks, Bruce. Thanks for padding for time. Obviously, that's taken a couple of seconds now. I do actually have lots of restore points there, so probably a good point to talk about our retention. So by default, there would be 4 months worth of retention. So that's busy trying to get a list of all of the different backup dates and times that I can restore from. Anyway, the actual restore I want to do, I'm going to can that. Is I want to do individual item restore. So that restore is going to restore me my entire 6.4 gig. But what I prefer to do is to log on for that user. And what I want to then do is just wait for that to refresh my side as well.
You gotta love live demos.
Yeah, so me and Bruce were talking right at the very beginning of this session that there was an authentication issue that seems to be hitting Microsoft, and we did actually go through this about 30 seconds before we started. I'll tell you what, let me just refresh that all again. So let's go into here, go into recover, choose my user, which sits under there, and click on view. So ever so sorry about that, having a technical problem there. I tell you what I will do is I'm just going to go into a different area. And just try it on another area. So just apologies while I'm just logging in. So that's what I want. Stick in that. And then I'm just going to wait for the two-factor authentication to hit my phone, which could be the next technical challenge. No, I've received that, so that's all good. So let me just log in there. Excellent. So I'm going into exactly the same thing, but I'm accessing it via the Redstor marketplace. So right, we're in here now. So let me just quickly just go straight back into that and just see if I'm having an issue here. Right, so that's interesting. So there's actually a backup in progress of the exact same data set, but from a different machine or a different installation. So there is a chance that that's causing me some issues. So we'll park that for a minute. Let's move on to OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams, just while I'm waiting for that to cancel. So in terms of getting access to data, so what you would have seen me do in a second, and we'll backtrack on that in a second, is to recover single items from the Redstor service back to Outlook. But we can also back up and protect OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams. So in this case, you've got my OneDrive data, which is 9.4 gig. We've got my SharePoint data, which is 2.6 gig, and then I've got my Teams data, which is 5.6 gig. Now, all of these, you can do restores. If I just click on the restore button for SharePoint, when I click on restore, there's two options. So I could either restore back to SharePoint. So if I perform that task ever so quickly and go and choose, I don't know, let's just choose this page, and that's 1.2 gig. When I hit recover, you'll see I've got two options. Do I want to recover the data and overwrite what's what's already there, or do I want to restore to a new site? So that will obviously then push the data from Redstor's service back into Microsoft 365. However, in this case, I want to have access using our Redstor instant data. So again, if I choose SharePoint, I've got two different options here. So I'm going to restore that data using Redstor instant data. And then this is going to build me a list of my sites. And there's the site that I want to gain access to. So that's again 1.2 gig. Now, what's different up here is I can actually choose how long a third party can access the data from Redstor, because you might want to email a managing director this link if he's struggling to get into the real Office 365, or maybe you've got a developer developing a front end and you want to present the data to them. So I'm just going to set this link to work for 8 hours. So if I hit recover, it will then ask me to authenticate with Office 365 to make sure that I have the privileges to be able to email out this link. So I'm going to stick in my user and his password. Obviously, I'm just authenticating with Microsoft 365 at that point. And then I'll get presented with the page that was requested, and I can either send out a link in an email, or in this case, I'm just going to hit the download button. So you'll see down at the bottom corner, I've downloaded the Redstor Instant Data app. And if I open that, again, this is very portable. So you can email this utility out to somebody else. And I can either use two components here. I can either do permanent recovery or temporary recovery. I'm going to do the temporary recovery. And I just launched that. And the chances are it's going to be on my wrong screen or hidden in the background. So I'm just, yeah, there we go. And if I just show you my laptop at the moment. So again, I am, although I might look like I'm at a trade show with nobody turned up, I am working from home. I'm just on my Wi-Fi. So at the moment, my laptop has a C and a D drive. So I want to mount my last backup, which was obviously taken place between our cloud-to-cloud service, Microsoft 365 and Redstor, and I'm going to map it as a Z drive on my laptop. Okay, so nice and simple. And there was the backup that took place last night. there's Adam's Jeep page, and sure enough, there's all of my documents and the data that I put in there. And of course, I can just simply access all of that data. So let's go and pick on a Word document, and I'm going to load that up. That's coming from Redstor, nothing to do with 365. So it's really that simple to, if Microsoft are having a bad day with SharePoint or Teams, you can use Redstor to allow anybody to have access to that data very, very quickly. So let's see if I can get back into the Exchange. That's still cancelling its backup. Let's just see if the other version sprung into life for me. It did. Look, so I was just being a little bit impatient there. So I've just dropped back to the original session. So sorry for the little technical hitch today. So let's just say I want to recover data on the 28th. So again, I'm sorry for jumping around, but this is the single item recovery now. So again, I could go into calendar, contacts, or mailbox, and I can see all of that user's email. And if I go into the inbox, in this case, you can obviously search on who it's from and the subject line. And again, that's quite important. I can't go and read all of the email and attachments because remember, I'm the help desk person at this point in time. I'm going to go and choose these 3 mail items, and I'm going to choose to recover them back for the user. So originally I've chosen the 28th when I browsed through this all. And again, the help desk guy now is prompted to say, okay, well, you want to go and recover those 3 mail items for that user, but you now need to, you're then challenged to make sure that you have the adequate permissions with Microsoft 365. Again, suffered a little gremlin there. Let me just go back into that. I'm not sure how quickly it's going to let me to go into that, but we'll just try once more, and then perhaps we'll have to move on. Apologies that having some technical issues this morning. Right, let's just try that once more. So again to email. See, it still says it's cancelling something, which I think has prevented me to go in there. So I'm ever so sorry, everybody. As I say, this is a live presentation, but I think looking at the backup schedules there, I think we've hit a gremlin there. That the backup has started, and it takes a while to cancel our service because we grow and shrink our technology in the background as and when things are requested and kicked off. So apologies that we run into a few technical gremlins on that session.
That's not a problem, Adam. We can obviously screen record it after the event and add it to the pack that Sean and the team will send through to the guys when we're done.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. So apologies for that. Let's move on. Let's just talk about our roadmap. And roadmap is really important. All of this stuff that gets developed from Redstor, obviously we have our own ideas, but ideas come thick and fast from our customers, and then via our resellers and our partners like Risc. So this was collated. This was information that was collated some time ago. All of the different things that we needed to add in G Suite, different virtualization support, different recovery methods and storage in Azure, obviously a whole manner of different things that people require in Microsoft 365. And then there's cloud databases and some other integration. So at the moment, this is our current roadmap, and I'll pick out a few things here. So again, we can back up G Suite. We haven't really looked at it in this session, but at the moment, G Suite can back up mailboxes and Google Drive. We're going to expand on that, and we've already added in support for Google Docs, Sheets, and other characteristics or specific components within Google G Suite. We then want to add in single item recovery and all this sort of good stuff. With Microsoft 365, one of the things that I'm looking forward to is the ability to recover to a flat PST file. So if you have a user that's left the organization, we've still got the backup retained within Redstor, and now someone or HR has said, can you show me Fred's email? We'll then recover that as a PST file, or you'll be able to recover that as a PST file. And of course, then you can just simply load that in Outlook or squirt that into a new Office 365 user. We are developing other cloud services. So for Xero, which is an accountancy cloud technology, and also later on this year, we're going to be adding in the ability to back up Salesforce. One of the things I did just give you a quick sneak peek at is our Redstor Marketplace. So this is to help with our partners and onboarding of customers. So there's lots of things going on in the background to make the software even more simple. And then, of course, Restor's focus on cloud restores. So we can already restore to Azure, but we're beefing up our support for Linux and other operating systems other than sort of Windows. So another thing that I'd like to show you as well is our cloud console. So I'm going to just make my way to, I'm lost with all my tabs now. Let me just type it in again. I tell you what, let's just go the whole. Oh, web. Sorry, I'm obviously a bit over the place from things not working, which is unfortunate. Right, so I've gone to web.pro.redstor.com and let's log in. Okay, so what you're looking at here is our web dashboard. So I've logged in with my same user, so you can see here that I'm currently protecting 22 machines around the world. And if I was going to be billed, my bill would be for 3.7 terabytes, because that's how much data I'm protecting with Redstor. But also, what's quite interesting is the insight where the backup client might be installed, and I think it is on this case on a Hyper-V host. We might not be selecting all of the capacity that is available in my environment. So that's actually saying, although I'm protecting 3.7 terabytes, there's actually 45 terabytes of data potentially that I'm not selecting for backup. I can also see and spot trends. So I can see going through last year, just regular backups. And then as soon as we hit the lockdown and we all worked from home, we then sort of, to steady the ship, moved data centers and moved our lab environments around so that our engineers and developers could get access to the data. So you see quite a big spike there of more data being backed up because we moved environments around. Also over here, you can see that I've got 18 Windows systems backing up, got 2 Linux and a Mac, and also I've got some other useful information like systems that are running out of disk space. So the laptop that you're looking at, which is my my Cronin HP, my D drive has only got 92 gig free. And if I was to click on that machine, I then get into more statistics and more stats about my machine and what it's been backing up. So if we look over here, I've been a bit naughty. That my machine wasn't backing up. I think that was over the weekend. And then I've been getting a couple of backups with some warnings. Oh, today was nice and successful. That's good to know. And I can see how much data I've been protecting. In fact, you can see there a bit of a drop on data. I was talking to a customer and changed the setting that removed all of my selection. And then you can see it all back again because I've put all of the selection back. And also over here, you can see how much data has been transferred. And you can see a great big spike here of 92 gig. So one of the things I quite often do when I'm demonstrating the software is I will restore a full system, which is around 50 odd gig. So I only need to do that twice in a day and forget to delete it. And then I've got a great big 96 gig backup, and you can see that spike. But what is nice, and the reason why I'm taking you through this, is it's great that you can spot trends. Things that you wouldn't have been able to spot prior to this dashboard. And of course, if I then go to the backup area, and we'll see that I've actually got 6,500 backups. Obviously, there's a lot of that is the cloud backups. If I come down here and maybe look into my servers area, and we scroll down here, again, this is a lot of lab land, so lots of these systems aren't been backing up. But as an example, Ben's Hyper-V host has been backing up solid all the way through the week. Same with my Capita Sim server, but this system here is reporting 6 warnings, so you're able to drill down and find out exactly what's going on with that system. So that's what I wanted to cover off today. Again, I do apologize that I had some technical gremlins through that session, which was less than ideal, but we'll make sure once the video goes out, we'll do a little edit just so you can see how the single item recovery works. But when it is working, it really is simple enough to just to choose the mail items, hit restore, and they go back to the user.
And it's certainly a lot easier than doing some e-discoveries within Microsoft's platform to try and identify the data and then have to manage how you get that back into the customer's mailbox. Absolutely.
Right, so you're online as well, Bruce, yeah?
Yeah, absolutely.
So thanks for that session. Adam, don't worry. I think, as I mentioned, we can do a screen recording of the bit that wouldn't quite work in real time and add that to the pack. We've got a few questions. Obviously, a couple of questions that have come in the panel that Bruce has answered. There's a few I thought we might save till the end. So between the two of you, do you want me to just pop these questions to you? You can answer them
please
for
do.
us?
Yeah, please do.
Okay. Yeah, so I think we've covered what elements of Office 365 are backed up by Redstor, but Adam, maybe just want to just summarize at a high level.
Yeah, so obviously infrastructure like servers, laptops, Mac, Windows, and Linux. In terms of cloud, currently that's Google G Suite and Microsoft 365. So within Microsoft 365, that's email, OneDrive, SharePoint, and Teams currently, and for Google, that's email and Google Drive, and Google Classroom as well.
Okay, thank you for that. No problem. How long is my data retained for? Is a question. That's quite an open question, but do your best to answer that one.
Do you want me to take that one, Bruce? I'm happy to.
Yes, yeah, by all means.
Yeah, so the standard retention straight out of the box is 4 months. So that will be all of the backups, very granular recovery points in the current month, all of the backups in the previous month, and then 2-month end. So that's our standard retention. If you require, or your organization maybe has some financial data, and maybe on some of your accounts, maybe all of them, you might need to change that. Come and talk to Risc. We can crank up that retention. Technically, no problems doing that. Again, there could be some commercial discussions depending on how long you want to keep that data. But yeah, have a chat with Risc and they'll be able to help with that.
Yeah, brilliant. I think you probably covered this one when you talked about, I know you talked about Xero and Salesforce. The question is, are any plans for any further SaaS products to be backed up other than 365 and G Suite?
Yeah, is the honest answer. We're not saying that your traditional infrastructure is just going to disappear tomorrow, but, it's a bit of a blockbuster moment. The people are moving data to the cloud. G Suite, Microsoft 365, there's other cloud applications over there. So I guess really the Redstor goal is to, now we've got the cloud to cloud infrastructure, is we're going to just keep on adding to that. So Xero is an example of that one, and Salesforce. Again, we have just added Google Classroom as well to the Google side of things. So that is just going to carry on with our focus of development. So best thing to do is where you are using these cloud applications is let Risc know. Obviously, we collate this information from all of our partners. Again, a little bit by committee, we have to decide what we can, what APIs But yeah, I think the honest answer is just keep an eye on our websites, because we are going to be adding other cloud solutions as we develop them.
Thanks, Adam. I think these two questions are kind of related, so I'll ask them together. And Bruce, I don't know whether you want to give Adam a rest and answer this one for us, but
Sure.
do I need to add a new user to the Redstor Cloud service each time a new user is created in M365? And on the flip side, if a 365 user is deleted or the license removed, what happens then?
Okay, so we'll take the first one. So there's an option to select, just as Adam showed, certain users to the backup, but also departments, as I mentioned. But you can choose to backup to select everybody by default, so that any new accounts are added. Now that sounds quite complex, but effectively there's a little tick box at the top of the backup selection screen. You just select all. If you want to exclude certain users, you can also do that. So you can say anybody new, but not these sets of users. So yeah, it is quite granular and easy to allow that new addition to Office 365 to be added automatically. And that can be done in Exchange Online, SharePoint, Teams, and OneDrive.
Perfect. Sounds good.
The second part of that question in regards to removing users. So if a user leaves Office 365, what you don't want to do is lose that data. So when they become unlicensed within Office 365, they leave the company, move on. The data will be retained. Obviously, it can't be backed up because the mailbox will no longer be there, or OneDrive will no longer be there. But Redstor will retain that data for as long as you want. You can, within the other console, the storage platform console, go in there, and after your retention period of choice, go and remove that user's OneDrive Exchange mailbox.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks, Bruce. Quite an open question here, and I don't know if there's an easy answer to this. Is how long do restores take? And I think that might be certainly the answer could be related to instant data and how that helps with restores.
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously, you're right to point out. Let's say, for instance, I don't know, you've got a terabyte of data. To restore that terabyte from A to B has got time associated, and again, it all depends on your bandwidth, your ISP, the amount of hops over the internet. So lots of variables to try and calculate what that time will be. But as you hopefully saw with the instant data, again, I know I was only adding, I think it was like 1.2 gig of SharePoint data, but once I've gone into the cloud to cloud, requested the site that I want to have access, downloaded that little instant data tool that takes a couple of seconds, hit mount that I wanted the Z drive. That's it. It's instant then. And of course, we're not in that case transferring the terabyte from A to B. It's a self-service, whatever the application or whatever the user is trying to access. And that's quite key, because when you're having one of these disasters, the likelihood of you needing all of that 1.2 gig in this case is probably slim. Somebody probably wants less than 1% of that data set. So being able to instantly map it like that is a huge benefit to getting access to data really quickly.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that. Another one's just popped in, and I meant to mention, actually, obviously, for those of you that are listening live to the call and those that listen to you on playback, these questions will be collated and put into a document that we'll share with you as well. And one just popped in: can Office 365 backups and restores be managed on the console too, or is it only through the web app?
So sorry, Adam, do you want to?
Yeah, I'm happy to.
Okay.
So, we are a cloud service, but I think, we have got, over the 20 years that the software's been developed, we've got the Windows console, we've now got the cloud to cloud console, we've got the central control center, which is the web dashboard. So we have to take that on the chin. We are busy developing a marketplace or a portal that this is all going to be centrally managed. It's actually due for release later on this month. So we are, it's not miles away. So the simple answer is we are developing a single console as it currently stands right now. Depending on what you're trying to do, you pick the best console. If you want a nice graphical front end, you probably use our web console where you saw all the graphs. If you want a technical front end, you'd use our Windows console. But at the moment, the restores of the cloud infrastructure has to take through the cloud to cloud console as it currently stands. But we are moving that into the central control center very soon.
Okay, brilliant. Thanks for that. Well, a couple more. We've got a few more minutes actually, if that's all right. Is there an alerting mechanism if the backup doesn't work properly for any reason?
Yeah, I'm happy to also take this one. So there's numerous reports and email alerts that can be configured with our management console to alert a customer to say, look, you know, all of the backups have worked, or you might want the backups that haven't took place in 24 hours. So lots of things, lots of reports and alerts that can be configured to basically bring to your attention if there is an anomaly that you need to look into.
Okay, brilliant. I think that's all. Actually, there's one more that says, can we try it? And I think that's probably me with my sales hat on. I'll answer that one, shall I? So yeah, absolutely. I think you know, whether you're an existing Redstor customer of ours, backing up servers, virtual machines, or a new customer for Redstor, then yes, we can spin up a 30-day-ish proof of concept. So we can that'll obviously give you a better idea. I noticed there were a couple of questions around backup size and compression ratios and things like that in the chat. So again, that would obviously give you a much better feel for how much data you actually need to store. Bruce, anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, no, that was it. If anyone didn't see that, that was published in the Q&A chat. It was a great question. Can you estimate the size of data? So yeah, Microsoft give you some reporting tools within the Office 365 Admin Center that allow you to gauge how much data is in Exchange, SharePoint, OneDrive, and Teams. They're not great at times. Sometimes they're a little bit laggy from Microsoft, but yeah, it will give you an overall idea of how much data you've got within that. The data is compressed at storage. So yeah, we can have discussions with you on that trial, how much data Microsoft's reporting into how much data is actually being backed up. So it's a great way to actually find out and test the service to get your data protected and find out how much you've actually got to back up. It's, as Adam showed, really quick and easy to set up, and it can run for 30 days without any cost.
Yeah, thanks, Bruce. That's what I was going to say. So yeah, thank you for that. There's no other questions in the chat window for now. As I mentioned, we'll collate these additional ones and add them to the ones we had previously. And Sean will be in touch with you with some follow-up information after this event. If you've registered, you should have access to the recording anyway, directly in your Teams calendar. As I say, if not, Sean will send you the link through. And appreciate it both, Bruce and Adam, for your input this morning.
Welcome.
Thanks.
And we'll leave it there. Enjoy the rest of your day, everyone. Cheers.
Thanks, everyone. Thank you.